Aye.
Judge Brown, did you vote? Okay, I can't hear you. Thank you.
Aye.
All opposed say same. Any abstentions? Motion passed. We're moving on to agenda item number 4. Good morning, Tommy. Are you here? Oh, I
Yep,
see you.
I'm here.
Thank you, Tommy. I'll go ahead and let you do your report.
Okay, so there's really no update to OCCC, except I did tell you guys we were going to move the CTC to where the Lamaka work furlough site is, correct? And we're
Yes.
going to rename that from a work furlough center to a reentry reintegration center, something along those lines. So I asked the engineers to kind of look at the projected cost of the building the OCCC without the CTC and see if they can lower the price down. So that's what they're doing. We're looking at a 3-story structure that is the most feasible given the amount of staff and the number of detainees that will be there. What that will do is lessen our footprint on the ground, but at the same time will provide enough space for parking for both the animal quarantine facility, for visitors to the facility, and for the staff of both facilities. We're looking at making the public parking joint for the animal quarantine center and for the new OCCC, but we'll have restricted parking for our staff. And we'll have set aside parking for the judiciary when we have hearings there, because we're putting a courtroom in the facility itself to cut down on transportation back and forth. We're looking at a separate entrance for the judiciary to come and go. We are going to install what's called a community room where members of the neighborhood board can schedule the room to use. It'll be outside the secure facility, so there'll be a multi-purpose room where they can hold meetings. People can call the facility to schedule it, things like that. With respect to the medical record system, we went into contract with Fusion. We're working on the details now with IT. We have a goal of rolling out sometime between June and September of next year. They're now working on the contract language. With Fusion comes different types of tablets. Now we use GTL tablets for telephone and video visits and games. So we're looking at a new Fusion tablet that would allow them to electronically file grievances, request for case management support, can do programming on the tablets themselves. The goal is for us to have 1-for-1 on a convicted felon for the tablets, so that a person is assigned a tablet when they come in and they use that tablet all the way through. Wow. And ideally, what we want to try to do is have the person have access to an account on that tablet for up to a year after they get out, so they can access Workline, history reports, certificates for some of the courses they went through, some of all the programming they went through, that kind of stuff. So we think that'll help with transition as well, because sometimes people lose documents, and by us giving that to them for free, they'll have access to it for up to a year. So I'll let you know, we're talking to Fusion now about the multi-purpose platform and what we want them to do, like commissary orders will be done on the tablets too. So we're trying to bring DCR into the 21st century. With respect to the offender track system, the contract was awarded to Syscon, and now we're doing the contract language. We're looking at the rollout sometime next year for that as well. I'll let you know, we just awarded the contract, so we just now start on language. There was a protest to that contract. The protester withdrew the protest that allowed us to go ahead and award the contract to Syscon, and so now we're going to proceed. With respect to wellness events, as you know, I gave Christian a list of wellness events that we have conducted and job fairs for resource fairs for offenders. The next one that we plan will be done at it's a job fair to be held at UH's campus on Maui in the Community Relations Building from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So we're going to have our personnel office there. We're going to have leadership from the facility there to talk to potential applicants on if they're interested in some of the many vacancies we have. As you know, we have hundreds of vacancies in corrections officers. We have case managers, everything from groundskeepers all the way up to psychiatrists. So we did start our, as you know, our Champion the Change campaign last year has been very successful. We brought down the overall vacancy rate from 36% to 24%, excuse me, 34% to 24%, but we still got a ways to go to fill the positions.
What was the date on the Maui thing?
The Maui thing is going to be, oh, that's a good one. I didn't write it down. Okay. Also, hold on, let me just pull up my email. But they actually have a good plan to do it at night, because then some people worked on the day. And so here we go. So they're going to do it from 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening. It is going to be on 7 p.m. Do you know it's not on an announcement? I'll email it to you. I'll email it to you, to the commission. I apologize. I'm just looking at it. I just noticed that it's not on there. Okay, I'll get that to you today.
Thank you.
My apologies. That's all I have.
Want to open up for testimony?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate all that. That went pretty fast. That's a lot of good stuff, though. That's a lot of hard work, and I can hear it with all the different contracts that you were talking about and whatnot. But at this point, I want to open it up for any public comment at this time to the commissioners. You please leave your comment to 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll respond to your comments or take have an ear for it.
And specific to what Director Johnson presented.
Looking for hands or digital signal. Seeing none. Go ahead, Martha.
Okay, Tommy, my question has to do with, I'm very happy to hear about this enhanced use of tablets throughout the facility, but I'm curious as how we're going to maintain confidential contact for the offenders and lawyers, ombudsmen, the commission. Will they be using the tablets, or would they be using those booths that have already been established in some of the jails?
We haven't determined that yet, but to be honest with you, we didn't think about, until you just said it, about the contact with the attorneys can be done through the tablets, and then they could do it in their cell, or they can go into the booths to do it. Contact with the ombudsman and the commission, they could do the same, go into the booths, but I have to make sure that we have that platform. I just met with the ombudsman about some other issues, and according to him, they only have this one mailbox, general mailbox, and it's not part of their system to protect their records and confidentiality. So I'll have to talk to him some more to see how then, if we were able to get that platform on the tablets, how would that work with the inmates communicating with them and with the commission too. So I'll talk to them. I'll talk to Romy first.
So
we're rolling it out with healthcare first. So I'll talk to them. Good point. Good point.
And I am sure that you're aware that, you know, our concern would be to make sure that those communications are kept confidential. Thank you.
I do have the date. The date is November 5th for the seminar, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. In the Community Relations Building at UHM Maui.
Thank you, Tommy. Judge Browning, any questions?
Yes, with respect to the courtroom that's going to be at the facility, that's correct. It will be a courtroom for hearings, right?
Yes, yes.
Have discussions taken place between you and the judiciary about that?
Yes, I met initially with Rod Miley and retired Chief Justice Reckenwald. And so my understanding is we've been meeting with Dalen Rose, because so she is now the lead for that project. And so we've already got the basics down as to what was needed with respect to the judges' chambers, space. But it's going to be a bricks and mortar type of courtroom, not mahogany, wood, all this other stuff, but a functioning courtroom. And according to the judiciary, it'll be one courtroom that can handle both district and circuit court functions.
Oh, good. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge Ibarra?
Thank you.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you, Tommy, at this time. Oversight Coordinator, Ms. Johnson, been called away to the mainland at this time. So the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission's monthly report is online. I'm not going to go over it verbatim, but just a few highlights for those of you who want to review the entire report. As we all know, Ms. Johnson is very detailed and very committed in each of her reports that she puts out on a monthly basis. So I encourage you to go to our website and take a review of it. Things I will highlight though is 2 deaths in custodies for September. On September 2nd at approximately 8:24 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, a 49-year-old male in custody was found injured on a cell floor at the Northeast New Mexico Correctional Facility, Clayton, New Mexico. And at approximately 8:29, medical staff entered the pod with a gurney and removed the individual. Medical staff performed chest compressions until emergency medicals arrived and assumed life-saving measures. The male was transported by ambulance to Union County General Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased at 9:13 p.m. The medical examiner will determine the official cause of death following an autopsy. The second incident on September 25th, 2025, at approximately 5 p.m., security staff were alerted that a 62-year-old male in custody needed assistance at Halava Correctional Facility. Security staff called for medical backup, who arrived approximately 5:10 before EMS arrived and assumed life-saving measures. The descendant was transported to Palimomi Medical Center emergency room, where he was pronounced deceased at approximately 6:18 p.m., and the medical examiner will determine the official cause of death following an autopsy. So those are 2 deaths in custodies for the month of September. The staff continues to do its tours of this past September. They did the Waikiki Health Center and the Halikipa nonprofit that house housing for young adults here in Hawaii. And anything else according to the report can be read again on the website. The 2 tours that we've been talking that will be the commission had in the last 2 months will be discussed with Martha at this time. So moving on to agenda item.
Yeah, do we have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay, hearing none. Item number 6 is the overview and discussion of the Women's Community Correctional Center tour and report that we did last week.
Okay, we conducted the tour at the Women's Community Correctional Center on September 11th,
Yes, ma'am.
2025. First of all, this is the first tour that we did as a commission since August 2024. I want everybody to be very well aware that the staff visits the facilities very, very often. We only go once a year to each facility. So this is reflecting our impression from that time. The 3 new buildings in August of 24 were under construction, but they're all open now. Building A is secure housing. It's now called the Pakui building. Building B is intake, and building C is where administration is located. We visited Olamana Cottage. We never have enough time to visit all the living units while we're there, so we select them. We have not visited Olamana before. It is where the jail population and mental health programming is located for Women's Community Correctional Center. So mental health staff did accompany us on this tour. And one of the things that in Olamana Cottage that the offenders brought up is that they share the Ka'ala Cottage case manager because of lack of staff. And they said that there just is not enough adequate time for her to handle the issues that they have. They do not fault the case manager for this. They believe she tries very hard, but she is overwhelmed with questions and requests whenever she comes there. So I know that the department is constantly recruiting for positions. This is one example where the positions really affect the offenders. In Dorm A, which is on cubicles divided by low walls, the jail population who were designated there were medium to high acuity. So primary level 3, some level 2s occupy this dorm. Reading material is available, but a common complaint is it doesn't rotate enough. They don't have enough new stuff coming in. Another common complaint is store hour is only every 2 weeks. There is more than 12 hours between dinner and breakfast the next morning. There are no snacks or anything else provided. So the women are asking that they be able to get store order more frequently, or at least snacks be provided for that very long period of time. We also, in the bathroom area, a couple of the facilities were not working. Like one, let's see, one of the things they noticed, 2 of the sinks had poor water pressure. Of the 4 showers, hot water is not always available. So what they figured out, they kept one shower flowing all the time, then would have hot water in the other showers. Quite a waste of water, but who wants to take a cold shower? And one of the toilets was malfunctioning. This is indicative of the age of the facility. It opened in approximately 1952, and it really is another one of those facilities that the cost of repairs would be almost equivalent to the cost of replacing it. Dorm C is made up of cells, and it houses the people with high mental health acuity in single cells and is the disciplinary unit for the cottage. Dorm C did not have much out of cell time, averaging just 1 hour a day. Of concern for the commission was the individuals with mental health issues needed more access to out of cell time, given their status. Fukui Cottage is the new living unit that opened up, and it has 3 dorms A, B, and C. Dorm A and B are similar. There are 2 stories made up of very large cubicles with floor-to-ceiling walls. Along the walls on each side, there are 2 double bunks, so 8 people is a capacity within that area. The commission is responsible for establishing capacity, and we are working on that right now. But we're under the impression that this facility was built in accordance with ACA standards. So I am predicting that most likely the operation capacity is going to be the design capacity. One of the most common complaint we got is they have very large windows at the end of each of these cubicles, allowing a lot of fresh light, but they don't open. Above the windows are 2 louvers, long louvers. They are open, but they do not provide the adequate airflow that you need. So the cubicles get very hot. The day room does not. The day room is 2 stories, and the day room has fans inside of it. You can't put fans inside of the cubicle. The ceilings are too low. It would be dangerous. And so there is a lot of concern about how hot those get. In Dorm B is made up of cells. Sorry, is Dorm B cells or is Dorm B?
B.
Yeah. Dorm B is this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still in Olamana. Fukui, I've moved to. I'm sorry. I got confused where I was. People in custody reported that many programs need to be for parole eligibility are restricted to those who are medium and close custody. An example was used was the Residential Drug Abuse Program, RDAP, is only accepting minimum custody individuals. Those coming back from parole as parole violators may be designated as medium custody, and they are not able to access the RDAP program, which is required by the paroling authority for re-release. So we need to resolve that. Dorm B is the same layout as Dorm A, but is designated as the honor dorm, so the women have more programs available to them in that dorm. And it is, some were interested, though, going to Ka'ala Cottage, which now has a small workout room, a new gym, and that was developed by the Women's Prison Project. It was a great gift to the facility. However, it is very challenging for the facilities to take women from one living unit and move them to another living module. And so we don't see that as being really feasible. They'd be able to access the Ka'ala Cottage dorm. One person in custody brought up something which is of great concern to us, and that is lack of a notary at the facility. It used to be in my time that every facility had secretaries and sometimes clerical staff that got trained by the state to be notaries. They could only be notary in state functions, which included the correctional facilities. Especially the women have a lot of child issues, child custody and things like that, and they need to sign documents requiring notaries. It used to be that there was a notary that volunteered to come in, but she is no longer available. So months can go by without getting something notarized. We recommend that the facilities start again being allowed to have staff be notaries. They get trained at no cost to the facility, They cannot use this notary service outside, hang out a shingle outside of a state building. And I read the policy, and the policy just said that they're no longer required to have notaries, implying the previous policy did require it, but it doesn't prevent notaries from being on staff. Dorm C is made up of 2 stories of cells. There are 12 cells on each floor. And those are identified as maximum custody, protective custody, or housed in disciplinary segregation as a result. This cottage vacui is made up of sentenced felons, not to be confused with Olamana, which is made up of the jail population. And the space is used judiciously. There were only 14 people occupying the 24 cells while we were there. They are given 1 hour per day out of cell, during which time they have access to phones, tablets for contacting their families or participating in program available on the tablet. The tablets do not get returned to the living units with them or to their cells. Monowilly Cottage is a program cottage. It has the education program there. We were really impressed with the range of programs provided by education. And many of them are college level that come from Women Community College. So we do commend them for the great job they have in offering the variety of courses that are there. The library had a very large selection of books, but the librarian was not there, so we could not ask about access to the law library. In the medical unit, Tommy brought up the fact that they are replacing the information system for the department, and they did mention that under the current system, the medical record system is running very slow, which takes a lot of time when they're trying to move forward with it impedes their work. They also do have a number of vacancies. They're missing 1 RN4, which is supervisor, 3 RN3s, 2 LPNs, and 2 human service professionals. They are allowed to hire outside staff to come in, contract staff, but they have informed that the agency nurses will not be assigned after September 30th due to lack of funds. We also heard this at MCCC when we were there. So this is something we should have asked Tommy. Oh, Tommy is still present. He might be able to answer that, whether they will not be allowed to hire agency nurses after September 30th. It's already past that. The infirmary is in good condition. In the general room, which is for people who may be coming from the hospital or someplace else, there was only one. It allows for 4 inmates. There was only 1 inmate assigned to that. We had 2 inmates on suicide watch and 1 on safety watch. The safety watch was a state step down from suicide watch. But we did notice the ACO who was assigned to sit opposite the suicide watch cells, she was across the hall in a room which looked like an inmate work line. That desk should never be vacated. If someone needed to talk to the inmate work line, it should have been someone else. So Tommy, as soon as I finish this report, I'll ask you to respond to the thing about the agency nurses. The kitchen was busy preparing for dinner, but it was clean and good order, especially considering that it's 60 years old. On our first visit, it was in terrible order, and it has improved immensely. There was only 1 piece of equipment that was not operating correctly, a steam cooker, and it was needing repair. And so one of the things we did notice the last time we were there were a number of inmates on suicide watch, and the reason they were there so long is there was not a psychiatrist or psychologist available to release them. There is now someone available, so they're not spending an extended time there. And now, can we recognize Tommy and ask him about
Tommy, can you go ahead?
agency nurses?
Okay,
Hi, Tommy, thank you.
Hi. What was the question? I'm sorry.
We were told both at MCCC and at WCCC that beginning September 30th, so that was last week, that they would not be able to bring in agency nurses as there was a lack of funds.
Well, no, that's partially true. So let me explain. All the federal dollars, the ARPA funds, ran out on 31 December of last year. We were able to encumber what was left over, and we had to expend it by 31 March of this year, which we did. So the money that's available is much, much less without the ARPA funds, but we will go into contract for what's called locum nurses beginning 1 October. They're doing the RFP now. Since there'll be less money, they will not be able to they will not be able to get as many of the locum nurses as they did when we had the federal ARPA funds to supplement our regular budget items. We do have a Form A in, which I just provided to Christian this morning, and she acknowledged receipt, asking for the commission's support because we're requesting 35 positions, including nurses and psychiatrists and APRNs, based on our staffing needs and the recommendations of the 2 mental health experts that were just here in June.
I do have a question for you, and this would be a fiscal question. Is it better for the facility to be using agency nurses, which you know you can get, as opposed to having positions that you're having a lot of difficulty filling?
It is better for them to have nurses, APRNs, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
APRNs have prescriptive authority. So we're requesting a total of, let me look at my Form 8. 35 positions, I believe it is 10 APRNs, 8 nurse 3s we're asking for to be, throughout the state, to go throughout the state. So we think if we get the positions, the problem we have on Maui is that the cost of living is so high, even though the nurse make a decent salary, it is not enough for them to buy a place there. So that's why we have the nursing vacancy. So we fly nurses over there. I think we fly an APRN over there twice a week, but I'll check with Romy to make sure. And I'll email you the schedule of this current staffing in Maui, and then what the schedule is, how we supplement that with sending people over during the week. I'll get that from Romy Glidewell, our healthcare administrator, and I'll send that to you. I'll send it to Christian and she can share it, or send it to Mark and she can share it. He can share it.
And we know that the department has been making a very aggressive effort to fill positions at the facilities. So I cannot fault you the fact that you have vacancies here, and I appreciate you're trying to find workarounds. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Any questions, Commissioner, on the report that we just heard? Okay. If not, we'll move on to item number 7, which is our report from the visit to the Oahu Community Correctional Center. Martha?
I hope I don't get confused this time. I'm so easy to confuse now. Okay, on Wednesday, September 17th, we visited OCCC. You might be aware that when we had our last scheduled visit, there were not enough commissioners to attend that tour, so we decided to delay it. OCCC is a very important facility for us. So the tour included Chair Patterson, myself, and Commissioner Browning. First, we met with Warden Shell and his staff for an extended period of time, which we appreciated very much. And the largest concern were consistent complaints that we get concerning out-of-cell time, that inmates are locked up 22 hours a day in their cells and they do not get out. The warden explained that OCCC is required to close a minimum of 21 posts in any given watch before overtime can be authorized. The requirement to close 21 posts has resulted in consistent 23-hour to 22-hour a day in a cell, and including eating in their cells. So you have 5 people in the corner cells, which are about 120 square feet, as I recall, and they're all trying to eat also in that very small space. The short and long-term impacts of trauma experienced by people in custody are also a concern given the conditions of confinement caused by long-term lockdowns. We also are concerned about the possibility of potential liability generated from closing that many posts, that there could be a suit against the state as a result. And you have to measure the cost of a suit versus filling those positions. The department is deeply concerned regarding the lack of out-of-cell time for those in custody and views the relationship between restrictive overtime and population management is a serious management failure at the department level. Many of the solutions and recommendations that the commission has put forward previously cannot be implemented at the facility level, but must be implemented at the department level. Facility highlights. Okay, the women were relocated to Pakui and other cottages at the women's facility, so they no longer have that space. Initially, it was the intent of the department to use some of the places vacated as, overcrowding, reducing the opportunity for women in custody. They were going to use it as a suicide watch, step-down module, and critical care for the mentally ill. That does not appear to have taken place. They're all also going to use one of them as the infirmary. They're using them for other reasons at this time. So we are concerned about not having like more infirmary space that is needed, desperately needed at that facility. The medical staff or the medical unit was orderly and well staffed. Again, it was contract nurses that were helping to keep it well staffed, but there were many staff vacancies and services, again, were augmented. The physical space lacks privacy for medical practitioners. This has been a long-term problem out there that when they're interviewing, doing the initial interview or any other interview with those in custody, they don't have privacy in doing so. Also, the infirmary is very inadequate. So we were looking forward to using one of the modules the women vacated as the infirmary. The holding unit, which is the oldest building on the site, it was built in 1936. And while it's functional, it is very archaic. It is open cells. And there are a total of 36 cells, 12 cells on each floor with 4 cells and a day room in front of it. But again, it's only bars. So I mean, sound can travel, other things can travel, things can be passed from cell to cell as a result. So there were 39 people located in those 36 cells, and the unit was very cold with some of the people in custody just wrapping themselves in a blanket. The outside recreation, which we included in pictures in our report so you folks can see it, they are open cages that people go in individually. These cages are about the double size of a cell, but they do not have any shaded access, and they're in the sun a lot of the day. It was reported by staff that about half the population in the holding unit take advantage of the outdoor rec. Remember, it is up to the person in custody whether they choose to go outdoors or not. But we think lack of shade may be one of the things that contributes to this low rate of use. We then moved on to module 17. It has a capacity of 48. There were 49 people we were there, but it was very clear while we were there, there was a lot of shouting coming from the cells, asking for attention. I know the Commissioner Browning and our oversight administrator were talking to the people in the cells. I had very little contact with them because I was talking to staff, but they can report. Judge Browning may be able to report more on what he heard there. There were yelling complaints about not having daily access to showers, out of cell time, phone calls, programs, and outdoor rec. Annex 2, which used to be called the Thunderdome, is not so much a Thunderdome anymore. It is a concrete 3-story building that has open dormitories that are in there, but I must say the last 2 times I've been there, and it's been much quieter. There were 134 men located there, which has a design capacity of 114. We had no real complaints expressed to us or the staff while we were there. Visitation continues to be non-contact visits. The position of the commission is to have contact visits. Follow up on previous recommendations. We're happy to say after our August 24 visit, we were told at that time by the warden that the warden did not have access to confidential policies. That was brought to the director's attention and resolved immediately. And they do have access to all policies now. We have noticed in all 3 of our visits, again, these are the commission visits, not the staff visits that augment these, that natural lighting is restricted in the cells, that they have put up boards, sometimes wood, sometimes made out of other material, to block the natural light coming in because of communication that was going from module to module across yards and stuff. It is required by ACA standards that they have natural lighting, and we want to have that resolved. We've mentioned in the past that you could use oblique glass, that light can come through, but you cannot see through. We recommend the restoration of contact visits. People in custody at OCCC have too much idle time and limited access to programming, including cultural education and reentry. The one thing we did not ask when we were in the when we were in the education area, that really was, we didn't go there. That's right, we didn't go there, that one. The furlough program is the most utilized of the furlough programs in the state, but it still could be used at a greater capacity than it is right now. Again, we recommend you install cages. And we also, the complaints that have been received from the commission include roaches in cells that must be enclosed. That is a health issue. We must take care of getting rid of the roaches. And then difficulty in accessing bail calls. So again, inmates have to have the ability to contact a bail bondsman so they can arrange that they can get released from custody. And we will need to ensure that regular access to books and reading materials is available, legal calls, mail, recreation for those in the holding unit. They are restricted a lot with that. And last thing is you can read the report yourself, evaluate the impacts of requiring post closures to limit overtime costs. The trade-off we do not think is really worth it in the long run. I did ask if you could add anything about the closing of the cells, the impact as a former correctional officer.
It is normal for the department to put restrictions on the facilities in their overtime practices. Yeah, we do know already that there is a large shortage of correction officers statewide. However, when we do the shortages or we do the instructions come from the department onto the facility on how to hire overtime, we need to be more conscious, or the department needs to be more conscious on how that instruction is being presented and how does it affect the ability of the facility to maintain a safe environment. Yeah, sometimes if you folks understand the staffing of the correctional officers, they have what they call red positions and black positions. And the red positions are those individuals that, or positions that are necessary for the facility to maintain order. Yeah. The black positions are what we call the worker bees. They're the ones that allow movement to occur. Yeah. And the red posts cannot be closed, but the black posts can. And so as you continue to cut black posts or not hire for them because we don't have, because of vacancies and staff not coming in, the more black posts that we close, the less movement is available to occur on that facility. Yeah. So when we have a huge amount, like 22 positions, that's 22 black posts during the business hours of facility, that's almost no movement that's occurring outside of them going to court, yeah, on a daily basis. And so we need to look at how can we create models of, on this day, we're going to do 12 posts. On this day, we do 15 posts. We need to look at and manage each correctional housing to determine that they weren't out yesterday. How do we get them out today? Yeah, we need to be more conscious on how that 22 number shouldn't be fixed. It should be fluctuated. Yeah, in order to manage movement within the facility, manage programming, and especially manage time out of the cell. Yeah, if you go a whole week and not having much time out of the cell, maybe you have 2 to 3 hours a day out of the cell, it goes crazy on the mind. Individuals being locked up, and then you cause more problem for that one guy in there that's responsible for 40 to 50 inmates in his housing unit who are very frustrated at that time. So everybody's frustrated. So how do we create models? Back in the old days, we called it rolling lockdowns. Yeah. Even rolling lockdowns got into some union issues in terms of moving individuals. But we need to be creative. We need to work with the union and how we can allow for more time out of cell and not be fixated on a single number of posts that is required to close, but to fluctuate it on a weekly basis to allow for freedom of movement and out of cell time. Yeah.
And Commissioner Browning was with us on that tour. If he wants to add anything, please do.
Well, I think you guys covered most of it. I spoke to, as Commissioner Torney mentioned, I spoke to at least 3 different inmates in that particular area, and the issues that we discussed were from inmate to inmate were the same, and that was time out of the cell, the lack of time out of the cell. And with respect to that issue, the discussion always went into how much it adversely affected each individual and how they were being, they were losing hope and they were losing their minds, basically. The psychological harm. And I would also include emotional harm of not being able to get out and get recreation or to get some sort of variety during the course of the day, and just the extreme stress that it put on them. And that was uniformly what each one of those inmates that I talked to spoke about.
That's awesome. Did you want to ask if she has any comments?
Who? Oh, is she here?
Yeah, she's in the meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Browning.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I see Representative Bellotti on the line. Did you want to make a comment on the tour since you were with us on the tour?
Okay, Kat Brady.
Go ahead, Kat. I'll open up for some testimony at this time, and I'll close this section of the agenda.
Thank you so much. Just going back to WCCC, I am really happy that Tommy is coming to the legislature next year to increase the number of nurses. One of the things I've been hearing is that the women have been told sick call has been canceled. And they're saying, so what happens when we're sick? What do we do? They said, well, you can call sick call, but there's basically nobody there. So I think it's really important that we increase the nurses, and Community Alliance on Prisons will be supporting that. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you, Tommy.
Good morning, Representative Bellotti.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. It was very eye-opening. I am taking my time actually to visit numerous facilities in different avenues, either by myself or with you folks. So thank you for that opportunity. I reserve my comments at this moment. I'm just really learning and seeing the state of facilities right now, as well as the state of programs. There's a lot of work we need to do. I'll just say that for now.
Thank you. Thank you for being here as well. Thank you. So, Commissioners, a final statement on our, it's been almost since we've received and were able to fill our oversight coordinator in 2022. It's been almost 3 years now that we've been visiting these facilities. And this is a general statement, just to let you folks know. And I want to make sure that we're not just coming here and saying and reporting things out and not following up in terms of, is anything being done with the reports that we are being written? I think we have 3 years of reports, at least on each of the facilities that we visited in this past 3 years. We have been, the staff has been correlating all our recommendations on a spreadsheet, yeah? And I will say that Director Johnson and his predecessor have responded to a lot of our recommendations and made changes, and there's a lot that have not been done, yeah? So we're looking at those recommendations that we have placed in a spreadsheet, and we're going to be coming up by the end of the year with the end of the year and looking at the 3-year tours and what has been done and what has not been done. And when you look at what has not been done, it's not no real one individual, but it's really about budget issues, staffing issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think those are the things that we want to pull out of our recommendations so that we can go into the legislature and say, hey, these are reasons why things are not getting done. And how do everyone work together to be able to give the DCR what they need to resolve the problems that they're having and that we're finding, yeah? This is not about blame. This is what's happening. How do we work together to fix the issues that are occurring within our facilities at this time? And there are many issues, and we recognize that. So when you listen to what Martha has said in both OCCC and WCCC, many of this stuff is being repeated, yeah? And so I think we're at a point now where we have enough information to come down and say, hey, this is why this is not being done. This is our further recommendations, and how do we move forward in validating and vetting our recommendations so that DCR can move forward in resolving some of those issues. Commissioners, any final saying?
Well, I believe that we can really support Director Johnson and others in the facility when they go to the legislature with their request. So please take advantage of that support.
So a lot of these tours, commissioners, is really how do we best be a voice for change in the legislature based on the many recommendations and information that we've had in the past 3 years that we have shared and that we've found in our visiting. And I appreciate each and every one of you that come to these tours. It can be lengthy, it can be long, it can be tiring, but it's what we do. So mahalo for all of that. As we looked at item number 8, and it's going to be real quick because this is something that the oversight coordinator would report out on.
And Bob Merce is not with us
Bob
today.
Merce is not. I would call him on Bob Merce. The compassionate release has been something that we've been trying to work on for quite some time now. An organization called Families Against Mandatory Minimums, FAM, have been in Hawaii the last week or two. And the oversight coordinator and staff have been meeting with them. They've been meeting with community partners and DCR to look at compassionate release. I have nothing else to report other than that had occurred. And hopefully in the next meeting, we can bring this agenda item back up again when the oversight coordinator has returned.
Yeah, I agree with delaying this discussion until Kristen returns. But I do appreciate that Representative Bellotte and her committee held an informational meeting on Monday, and there Molly, one of the representatives from FAM, presented the data and the testimony. It was excellent. And Bob Merce, again, has been a leader in this state in getting compassionate release. I think he's been working on this issue for at least 20 years. And he has been successful in getting a number of people out, but there are many more that could be released. What was kind of shocking at that hearing, and Representative Bellotte may be able to expand on this, was what the cost was of keeping these people incarcerated. That it was mentioned that one inmate used $900,000 of the prescription drug money appropriated by the legislature, 90% of it in 1 year. Representative Bellotte, do you want to add anything more about the hearing? You're on mute. Thank you.
Sure. I would just say it is available on the House YouTube page, so anyone is welcome to see it. I just want to extend my appreciation to FAM, to the Commission, and also to DCR and HPA for what sounds like were productive meetings and conversations. I'm hopeful that we can continue these conversations and move forward in the 2026 legislative session. So more to do, always more to do. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Representative Bellotte. We're going to move to item number 9 on our agenda. It's public comment. This is public comment on issues that are not on the agenda that we may not have talked about today for consideration for Commission's agenda at the next meeting. I'll be looking for any hands or digital signs of any comments or testimonies at this time.
Kat?
I'm curious, aloha commissioners, I'm curious about the criteria for interstate compacts, because I've heard that there's one particular inmate who is on an interstate compact and he doesn't understand why. And I have been unable to explain why. So he's the only Hawaii inmate at a facility on the continent. So I think it would be good if the commission actually explained at the next meeting or at a subsequent meeting about interstate compacts. It was my understanding that if it's generally if it's a government worker who is incarcerated, they don't want that person in the facility that the government runs. So my understanding is they send them to other facilities. But I'm not really quite sure how that all happens. So I think it would be good to have a discussion on that. Thank you.
Interstate compact is used for a lot of purposes, not just those who may have worked in the system. And
Yeah,
we'll discuss
That's a good recommendation, Kat. We'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody know? Been a quiet day. Thank you, everyone.
We miss Kristen.
We miss Kristen. But just a few announcements. Our next meeting will be Thursday, November 13th at 9 a.m. And we will be on the Big Island. And we'll be visiting Kulani Correctional Facility at that time. As soon as this meeting is over, we will be heading out to Halava Valley and visiting Halava Correctional Facility today. I think that's all I have for this time. Commissioners, any further announcements that you may have? Seeing none, I adjourn this meeting at this time. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you, everybody.